Hello everybody and welcome to a new video. Today I will be covering my month of January listens. So everything from the 1st of January up until yesterday, which was the 31st, I will tell you all the albums that I listened to and hopefully make this a series because I want to be able to discover new bands and therefore, you know, have some newer music to talk about in future videos. So I've got quite a lot here, but one thing that I did get in the post today, I got the CD box set of A Night at the Odeon. If this is something you guys want me to cover, I'm more than happy to do it. This is a very nice box set from a concert in 1975, I think it was Christmas Eve 75, yep, at the Hammersmith Odeon, which is now called something else. I saw Dream Theatre there. It's now the Eventim Apollo, so it's not called the Hammersmith Odeon anymore. But nonetheless, if you guys want me to cover this and talk about it, I'm more than happy to do so. The month of January I listened to quite a lot of stuff. Quite a lot of kind of early prog, because as I said, I kind of recently reignited my love of prog. A lot of these are going to be kind of older stuff, but stuff that I hadn't really listened to, apart from, you know, stuff that I had listened to before but just revisited in January. I'm hoping to listen to some newer stuff in February. I know a lot of you guys have given me a lot of suggestions, which I am planning to put into action and talk about with you guys. So without further ado, let's go. So the first record that I listened to quite a lot this month was the Anderson, Bruford, Wakeman Howe record from the late 80s. Great record, by the way. I love this one. I love all these members, you know, they are all very talented people, and, you know, put into one album that's got a very different vibe to Yes, personally. Makes for a great record. This is 1989, so I recommend this if you are a fan of Yes or just a fan of their solo careers. Next is Bongo Fury by Frank Zappa. I'll just take this out. Bongo Fury by Frank Zappa. This is with Captain Beefheart as well. This is a great album. I absolutely love the song Muffin Man. One of the first Zappa songs I actually listened to. But this is a great record. I recommend this one. This next one is more one that I've rediscovered rather than something I'd only just listened to. But this is Thick as a Brick by Jethro Tull. I've been listening to this one a lot as of lately, especially part 1. I love that one, that part of the album. Great record. A lot of people consider this one of the best prog bands and prog albums of all time. I can agree with that. This is a very good record. It's up there, I think, with Aqualung in terms of their best albums. So I decided to kind of venture outside of the Peter Gabriel era Genesis and turn to the Phil Collins era Genesis. This is I think it's the second album that they made after Peter Gabriel's departure, but this is an absolutely beautiful album. It's got one of my favourite songs of all time on it, Afterglow, which closes the album. Such a beautiful song, it brings me to tears almost every time, and I love this. This is such a great album. I think Wind and Wuthering and Trick of the Tail are my two favourite post-Gabriel Genesis albums. Of course I like stuff that's like from the 80s, just not a lot of it, but like songs that I do like, songs that I knew before I kind of discovered Genesis, pre-Phil Collins. Next, this one is one that I think you guys suggested actually, well the band in particular, Opeth. I hadn't listened to music like this in a very long time, so revisiting it with a kind of prog slant to it made me very happy because I love metal. Doesn't really show much in this channel, but I love metal. I kind of solidified started off my music taste development with metal, with bands like Metallica and Iron Maiden and stuff, but this is obviously heavier than both of those bands, and the vocals are great. I love the kind of switch between the growling vocals and also the clean vocals, something that makes for a very good album, something that's just very much up my street, and I want to thank all of you who suggested Opeth. Me and my dad both love them now, and we got a couple of their albums in recently, but this is a very good record if you like prog rock but you also like metal. then definitely check out Opeth. I think you will like them. Next up we have Octopus by Gentle Giant. This is one I think I posted about yesterday. This is such a great record. I got into Gentle Giant fairly recently, and I started off with the self-titled and moved on to some of their later records. I've got one that I bought quite recently, I think a couple of days ago, that's going to be turning up soon. But this is an amazing album. I love it. But you can't go wrong with 70s prog, really. Another fairly new discovery for me, Camel, Mirage. This is one my dad showed me, and I just love this so much. It's becoming one of my favourite prog albums, actually. Just check it out. If you like your prog, you like your 70s prog, definitely something that you guys should check out if you haven't already. Although if you're watching this channel, you probably have heard of it, or have heard of them, you know. It's a great album. It's quite a well-known one in the prog community. I'm yet to kind of dive into more Camel, more Gentle Giant and stuff like that. I'm yet to kind of discover, but I'm getting there. You know, I'm quite slow when it comes to listening to new stuff, because most of the time I just forget. You know, I'll see your guys' comments and you'll be suggesting me a load of bands that maybe I've heard of, maybe I haven't, and the ones that I haven't heard of I usually tend to lean towards, because I like my new music. I like to discover new stuff that's, you know, prog and, you know, still out there, because, you know, in this country we produce some of the best prog rock bands, yet nowadays not a lot of people have heard of them, sadly. I really hope one day there's a prog resurgence, but I really doubt it in this country. I know that prog is very much still alive over in America and in Europe as well, so if that happened over here I would love that, but it seems that, you know, the radio is kind of more plays a bigger part in music, and things like the X Factor and Britain's Got Talent all kind of play a part in what today's music is and what people like. You know, it's more or less what you look like rather than how you sound, which makes me a bit sad. And I'm not one of those people who says, oh, all music from the 21st century is bad. I don't think that. I know there's some great smaller bands out there that don't get the recognition that they deserve, and I listen to a lot of them. There's bands in this country that I do love that are still going, bands like Radiohead and Muse, who have kind of carried on throughout the 2000s. But what I'm getting at is that it's not popular anymore, and that makes me sad. Next up, an album that I have heard a lot, but this month, and this is Trilogy by ELP. An ELP album was sure to come into this list. Last year it was mainly Brain Salad Surgery and Tarkus that I was listening to, and the first album. But I decided to revisit Trilogy because it was like the one in the middle that I hadn't really listened to it properly, and I loved it. I loved it start to finish. I mean, the title track basically brought me to tears. It's a great record. Lovely gatefold as well. Possibly one of my favourite ELP albums now. Along with the first album and Brain Salad Surgery. Another recent discovery for me is Van de Graaff Generator, God Bluff, and I loved this. I think the first time I heard this I didn't really pay much attention to it, but the second time round I was blown away. I mean, such interesting style, very much prog, very interesting to me. And something that I've never really heard before. Same with the Gentle Giant, obviously. Stuff that should have maybe been a bit more, not mainstream, but like a bit more. They definitely deserve the more recognition. But I know that a lot of you guys like them out there, and they are regarded as a great prog band and one of the best. Next up, we have, I'll take it out the sleeve, Hargest Ridge by Mike Oldfield. I'm a big Mike Oldfield fan. I love On My Dawn, I love Tubular Bells, I love the Tubular Bells sequels as well. I have a live album of his, Exposed. I love a lot of his work. So I checked this one out, which is sandwiched between Tubular Bells and On My Dawn. This is the one that came in the middle of that. And a lot of emotion in this album. A lot of emotion, a lot of feeling, and I love it to bits. It's one of those albums with just 2 parts, and just listen to it. That's all I can say, just listen to it and you'll see why I love it so much. And of course we have some Yes in here. This is Relayer by Yes, and I believe when I'm going to see them in May they're going to be playing a lot of the stuff from this album. This is a brilliant record, one that I hadn't really heard until I got my Steven Wilson remix box set, which has the Yes album, Fragile, Close to the Edge, Tales from Topographic Oceans, and this one, Relayer. I kind of had a day where I went through the box set and listened to all the albums, and I'd heard those first 4 ones in the box set, but I'd never really heard anything from this one. And when I listened to it, it was just one of the best things I've ever heard. I love this album. Sometimes I find it hard to get out my words when something is this good, you know, it's just an incredible record, one that I do recommend to people who haven't yet delved into Yes properly. Maybe you've heard Fragile, maybe you've heard Close to the Edge, but if you like those, definitely check out this. Definitely my favourite track is probably Gates of Delirium. Takes up the first side of the record. I love it. It's definitely a very good prog epic, which I might do a video about. My favourite prog epics, you know, longer tracks. Yeah. Next might be, I'm taking a little bit of a different turn. Going back to metal, we have Herzlied. I'm no way good at pronouncing German words, but this is Rammstein. I love Rammstein actually. They're one of the top bands of my year. I think it could have been like 2019 that they released a new record a couple of years ago, and that's kind of got me into them. But this is an amazing album. It's electronic music mixed with metal, essentially, and they are classified as industrial metal, I believe. This album came out in the 90s, and this copy is a limited edition reissue, anniversary edition, and it's on a very nice coloured vinyl. As you can see, I don't know if you can, but it's like a blue splatter vinyl. Incredible album. They are definitely influenced by German electronic music. I'm sure a lot of you guys know of them. You know, they have a lot of hits like Du Hast. But yeah, that's a brilliant album from a brilliant band. As I said, I'm really into my metal, so when I got that in the post, I listened to it a lot because I hadn't listened to it in a long time, so re-listening to it made me think, well, this is actually very good, because I'm kind of getting into more electronic-y based music from my love of prog. It's kind of stemmed out a bit. And lastly, we have, I'll take it out there, The Six Wives of Henry VIII by Rick Wakeman, and this is the first solo album from from Yes that I had listened to, and I listened to it last year, but it didn't click with me as much as I thought it would, and then I re-listened to it during January, and I kind of regret ever thinking, oh, it's average. I think this is wonderful. This is a great album, great instrumental, and yeah, I can really like see by, you know, the music how each wife was portrayed. I did a lot of work at my old school about Henry VIII and his 6 wives, so it was interesting to have that in music form, and I'm big into history, so that's another reason why I probably like it so much as well. But this is a great record if you haven't checked it out yet from the Yes solo albums. And that is the end of today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed. Tomorrow there will not be an upload because Tuesdays and Thursdays are going to be my days off, and just because, you know, I need to get used to not uploading as often, because when I go to university I'm not going to be able to upload daily. So I'm just going to kind of ease it in a bit, you know, and Wednesday's video is obviously going to be a review, and I hope you guys enjoy that. If you guys enjoyed, let me know, and let me know what your favourite albums of January were, because then I can get some suggestions for my February listens. And I will see you guys on Wednesday for my Moving Pictures review. Bye.